So I've come to a new realization as I've gotten older. I'm just not that good at learning the rules for these new complex games today. It's your turn when it's the second Thursday of the fourth month of a new moon when Cthulhu has arrived at his quinceanera. The last game that I actually learned how to play was Exploding Kittens. I promise, no animals were harmed in the making of this review. Ready or Not is actually a surprisingly enjoyable film. However, I do think that the cover art does a bit of a disservice to the movie. I'll talk more about that in the breakdown section. Now, as always, if you'd rather not hear the entirety of the plot before going to watch it yourself, go ahead and skip to the breakdown section of this video. Now, the plot for Ready or Not is actually really simple, and I love it for that. A story like this does not need convoluted side plots and side stories and stuff like that. Essentially, the story is about Grace and Alex getting married. Somebody's getting married. Now, Alex's family is loaded. Apparently, they have some kind of a game company, and if you look around their house, it's pretty clear that things have been good for them. They got that Hasbro Parker Brothers kind of money, you know what I'm saying? Let's see if I can make it rain. Well, I guess I made it lightly drizzle. Now, Grace has never met Alex's family before, and this produces a kind of anxiety early on in the film that makes you kind of wonder from the beginning, like, what's going on here? Why is Alex so, nervous about this? Now, they arrive at the house and we meet the family, and Alex's family is, kind of in that traditional, rich, creepy kind of vein for horror films. They get married, and then Alex kind of drops a bombshell on his brand new wife. He tells her that she has to take part in a game, which is really a tradition of the family. You see, anybody who comes into the family by marriage needs to play this game. Essentially, Grace is given a box full of playing cards, and each card on the front has the name of a certain game that she has to play if she pulls it. They could be anything from go in every bathroom and turn all the shower curtains upside down, to hide and seek, or as it's more commonly known, being hunted by your in-laws. So Grace pulls a card, and obviously it's the hide and seek card, aka the you better run because you're about to get hunted card. Alex pulls her aside and tells her that, listen, you have to take this seriously, you gotta go hide. She thinks that it's kind of a joke though, so she kind of, mingles off and, is playing a game until, some of the help in the house start getting killed, and she realizes, okay, this just got real. Now you might be thinking, well, what the heck is Alex doing in all of this? Well, Alex does initially try to help her out, right? He tries to help her escape and kind of run away from the house, but that doesn't really work. Then he gets knocked out. Now, if we're going to make fun of women for the horror trope of, running and always falling, I think we should also equally make fun of the man who gets knocked out way too easily trope. Now, why is the family trying to kill her? Well, there's a story there that goes along with it, which I'll leave to you to watch. Suffice it to say that if they don't kill her before sunrise, plot happens. For largely the remainder of the film, Grace is running around trying to avoid being killed. She just narrowly misses a couple of gunshots. She's almost shot by a bow and arrow. She punches a child in the face. Just watch the film, it'll make sense. So Grace survives a lot of these sort of really close encounters, and then the sun comes up and people start exploding left and right, and we're left with this really beautiful image of Grace just sitting on the front stoop of the house, smoking a cigarette, and we look at her and we can't help but think, I really hope you don't live in a community property state. Now, I was really surprised by how much I actually enjoyed this film. And one of the primary reasons why I liked it is because Grace is not some super hardcore protagonist. When you look at the sort of movie poster for this, it gives you the impression that, oh brother, here we go, another protagonist in a film who seems to do everything, awesome. But that's not actually the case in this film. Grace is actually pretty clumsy, and she makes poor decisions at times. Quite truthfully, she's not the brightest knife in the cookie jar. One of the best traits for a great film is when the audience can feel a kind of one-to-one ratio in relationship with that protagonist, meaning that whatever they're going through, we can sort of go through with them. When they grow, we grow. When they're being, sort of hunted, we feel like we're being hunted. And in this film, they actually do a really good job of that, of creating that kind of connection with the protagonist. Now that I think about it, monsters must be getting really annoyed by how many people are just sort of magically adept with a blade like they're some kind of samurai in a Kurosawa film. Yeah, that's right. I made a Kurosawa reference. The second thing that I'd like to point out about this film is the balance that it achieves between comedy and horror. A lot of times when movies try to do this sort of dark comedy genre, there's too much comedy and you lose a lot of that horror connection. But this film does a really good job of balancing that out. So you get just enough comedy that it keeps you sort of playfully entertained, but certainly enough horror/thriller that you still feel kind of on the edge of your seat and enjoying, sort of the ride that Grace goes through. There's a selfish element attached to Alex's character here. It's one that sort of really doesn't shine until the very end of the film. But if you do see the film again, like I did for this, you do start to see some of those selfish elements kind of coming through even from the beginning a little bit. Truth be told, there's no way around the fact that he doesn't tell his fiancée, Grace, that she might encounter this particular problem. And his excuse, of course, is, if I told you about it, I might lose you, and I can't live without you. You might have left me. Yeah, stupid. She probably would have. That would have been the smart thing to do. So what's our silver lining lesson here? Well, actually, this kind of thing happens more often than you might think. No, not the hunting down of new family members. I mean the idea of someone disguising selfishness within love. You see, sometimes these relationships can be very difficult to comprehend because you end up with two really powerful emotions at work here. One is love, and the other is danger. And when the two of those sort of commingle together, it can be difficult to know how to pull them apart. But make no mistake about it, if you're in a good, healthy relationship, those two things should not be commingled in that way. When you love someone, you're supposed to honor them, and you don't do honor to somebody by putting them in difficult situations where they can experience great harm. In fact, you should be doing the opposite. You should be trying to give them as many opportunities as possible to succeed and excel at who they want to be. I'll leave you with this final thought. If you're in a relationship where love and danger seem to, again, commingle together in a way that's difficult to pull apart, you should probably start thinking about ways of removing yourself from that situation. I'm not saying that it's easy to do. However, if that person that you're with is not going to honor you enough, maybe it's time that you should honor yourself enough to realize you're worth more than that. It's often incredibly difficult to try to remove yourself from situations like these. Therefore, I encourage you to seek professional help and to pull as many people who love you around you for additional support. And if you see someone in a difficult relationship like this, I encourage you to speak up as best as you can and to get more of those people around you in order to build that kind of support structure around you to be able to try to help them. Ultimately, the easiest way to get out of these relationships is to avoid them altogether. And in order to do that, we need to know that we're worthy of being honored. So if you're still looking for someone, some compatibility, make sure that that person understands that you want to be honored and that you want to honor them. This way, you can avoid having to draw the hide and seek card.